Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Duggan with IGN, and I'm here, of course, with Vince Ingenito.
What's up, James? How you doing, buddy?
Excellent. You've reviewed this game twice now.
Yes, I have. This is the second time I reviewed this doggone game, but I do love this doggone game, though. This year, Payday 2.
So it's fair to say you've had multiple run-ins with the law at this point in Payday 2.
Many, yes.
Tell me in broad strokes what you think this time around, and just for clarity's sake, we are looking at Payday 2 Crimewave Edition for the PlayStation 4.
That's correct, we are.
Next-gen consoles.
Overall, I do really love this game. It's the same great game that I loved on PC when I reviewed it a couple years back. It's just got a lot more stuff in it that makes it even more fun and makes it even deeper and makes you put even more thought into how you load out your character and how you play the game.
So we are doing the jewelry store heist right now, and we are playing offline. And on that note,
yes.
This is something, knowing Vince personally, he likes a lot of multiplayer shooters, but you were interesting in the fact that you kind of prefer a solitary experience a little bit.
Yeah, I feel more comfortable with. I love the mechanics that multiplayer games provide, but often I do kind of like to play by myself unless I have cool people who I like playing with.
Like me, of course.
Like you.
So since this game is very multiplayer focused, how does Payday 2 lend itself to somebody like you who prefers a more solitary experience? Obviously, you can play with bots, but is that really an engaging experience, and do you think it's comparable to online, or no?
So the biggest problem that Payday 2 always had and still has is the bots. Now, I get that the game is multiplayer focused, and that's totally fine. Like, it's fine. That's the way the game is kind of meant to be played. But that said, if you provide people an opportunity, like a way to play, that's if you give them a way to play that's multiplayer, that's single player, then honestly that should be valid and it should feel good and fun. It shouldn't feel busted and kind of not usable. And the big problem in Payday 2, oh my god, I gotta answer 2 pages at once. Oh god, this is kind of gonna be my cover blown here.
Everything's fine here.
Yep, everything's
how are you?
Damn it. All right. Well,
boring conversation anyway.
There that went. Boring conversation anyway. There that went. All right, but the point is that this game is so objective-based, and it's all about cracking safes and moving specific objective points around, securing hostages, getting that loot, and it's just like the problem is that the AI bots can't do any of those things. They literally, it's not that they just won't because they're too dumb. It's that they literally cannot interact with the objectives.
So they're basically just there as kind of hired guns. You basically have to hold their hand the entire way as far as objectives are concerned, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really super frustrating because, yeah, I mean, like, these guys could be out holding the front for me right now. They could be grabbing, loot bags. They could be controlling this crowd right here. They could be doing literally anything to be useful other than just standing there in the back of the store doing nothing, but that's what they're doing.
I mean, when you partner with Keanu Reeves for a heist, what do you really expect them to do?
I mean, like, what am I, that's the first problem, is picking the wrong partners. There are people online, who are no smarter than, like, Keanu Reeves Point Break, like, on meth.
Whoa.
But, whoa. Money. Whoa.
I know Kung Fu.
Oh, my God. So, to be fair, it's not always the worst, but...
So I want to talk about Keanu Reeves a little bit here, in a manner of speaking. The release of Crimewave Edition, we see the addition of the 5th skill tree, which is the Fugitive, Akimbo, / a little bit like Bullet Time. I can kind of dodge bullets, kind of.
Yes.
In addition to the sweet Keanu Reeves John Wick promo, which I still have to see, but I hear very good things. And I am a genuine Keanu Reeves fan.
Oh, as am I. I don't mean to. I'm not saying Keanu Reeves isn't smart. I just mean his character.
His characters are usually very neutral mask kind of deal. Okay, so tell me about the Fugitive. Have you had any experience with that? What do you think of the Akimbo pistols if you've unlocked that? I know that's kind of a farther in skill, but do you see the Fugitive bringing a new, interesting gameplay style, or is it just more nerd spreadsheet math stuff?
I do think it's mostly nerd spreadsheet math stuff, but I don't see that as a negative. I see that as a positive, because honestly, for a game that's got such a mass-wide appeal of, like, hey, be a criminal. Who doesn't want to be a bank robber, like, at some point? That's one of the coolest criminal, like, fantasies there can possibly be, right? So it's like you feel cool playing this game doing that, but despite that, there's a lot of really deep RPG stuff that really just kind of makes you feel, like you said, that spreadsheet nerd who's just trying to figure out like the optimal build. Like for instance, with the Fugitive, one of the main things that the Fugitive introduced is the max dodge build, where you mix it with some of the other perks that are in the other skill trees, and you can end up with a character who's almost impossible to hit if they're running at speed.
Which is a little bit disconcerting if you've played the game before and are not. Like I jumped back in a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And we were doing Watch Dogs, which is a very go loud mission.
Oh
like,
yeah, it is.
Bring your biggest armor, blah 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 blah. There's this guy who had like a noise level or a detection level of like 8, and I was like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I started yelling at him. He's like, "Bro, don't worry, I'm max dodge."
I'm max dodge.
I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'll just take your word for it because I've been out of the game for a while.
And I'm sure he did fine.
Yes, he did. Yes, he kind of carried a little bit. He was like, I don't know what I was thinking. He was like Infamy 18 or some crazy nonsense like that. Okay, so speaking of going loud and going quiet, there's kind of a dichotomy in the gameplay styles. In Payday 2, you can do stealth or you can go loud. But my experience has always been that the stealth, at least for me in this game, leaves a little bit to be desired. Is that your feeling about it? Which of these two methods do you prefer, or do you prefer mixing it up? What's the deal?
So the thing is, I'm always by default kind of a stealth-based player. That's kind of what I love in games, because it always takes a little bit more planning, a little more thought, a little more brain power, and that's just like that's what entertains me in games, is like having to think, having to really understand the mechanics, and oh wow, these guys are doing my job for me. They're carrying all the bags out for me. Thank you guys. That said,
those are the cops' AI.
Yes,
by the way, not
exactly.
your teammates.
Worth
actually
noting, the cops can carry my bags. My teammates cannot. Just saying. Just saying, Overkill. Just saying. Love you.
You're great, and it's massive improvements since the first game, for sure.
But yeah, that's something that I would like to see fixed. Anyway, so going back to what we were saying. Yeah, so I think that stealth in this game is a little bit clunky, in terms of how it works. Like, it's a little bit obtuse, right, and unclear sometimes about,
very
how you're being seen or why you're being seen. That wasn't good. Just killed a civilian. Oh, you little rent-a-cop.
You'll have to hire the cleaners. We'll come now. What are you doing?
So the thing is that God,
tased. This is where I shine as a enforcer shotgun build, because I don't know where he is though. You're being stealth tased.
Oh, he's behind me.
Oh, you were getting wrecked. If only your teammates could help you.
If only my teammates would.
And
do
okay,
things.
so this is something that I kind of want to point out. A lot like Left 4 Dead, like. There are, whether it be the smoker or something like that, there are special infected, if you will, of cops. We've known this for a long time in Payday 2, that can isolate and take you out of the game completely, and the only way to overcome that is with team play, which I love. I love that they incentivize having to communicate. That's fantastic. But when there's bots that don't really have your back, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, like
right
now.
Yeah.
Oh, but you wanted that John Wick promo. John Wick just got downed right next to me, trying to save me.
It was an honor to fight by your side. Okay, so
yeah, do you want to take a
let's go back and look at the Fugitive skill tree and some of the other question I'm about to lead into is Arsenal. But before we do that, let's just take a look at the trees.
Yep, sounds good.
And this will be fantastic. So yeah, you were. Another question I kind of want to ask you real quick, and this is something that stuck out with me in Payday 2. So you can go in and request contracts that then deduct money from your offshore bank account. Do you do that, or do you wait for them to pop up just because you're so thrifty?
I wait for them to pop up, not just because I'm so thrifty, but because, honestly, that's for big ballers. Like, 500K is a lot of scratch
but it's
early.
Offshore.
Sure, it's offshore, but eventually, if you wanna prestige,
oh, is that required to?
Yes, yeah. If you want to, so that's something they added is the Infamy System, and so we'll go there real quick. If you want to become infamous, you need to fork over 200 million and be
from your offshore.
From your offshore.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. So,
but that being said, I am a hashtag no prestige in any game. I do not subscribe to it. But continue.
Yeah, so for that reason, I haven't really done it very much, and also there's a little bit of like forced variety there if you just play with like whatever they put in front of you. Like, yeah, you can technically wait there until what you want comes up, but no one does that. Everyone's just like, all right, I'll wait for 30 seconds to see what the best thing is, and then I'll
just take this. I don't even care.
So here's the Fugitive Tree. And yeah, it does offer some really neat new things at the higher level.
Can we just talk about the base ability, the med pack?
Sure,
which kind of doubles up with the Mastermind's first aid kit, which is kind of like a communal, put it down, you have to go up to it. But I actually much prefer this not being having never played a mastermind as an enforcer, if I'm looking to get health quick because my shields have depleted, my energy shields are low.
Yep.
And I have to retreat to cover, and I start taking some health damage, I want to heal up instantly and get back in the fight, and I love the Fugitive for this. I think it's a more versatile version. Is that your experience?
Yeah,
or do you think the Mastermind's first aid kit is a little bit...
The Mastermind's first aid kit is I've got an enforcer who's down at 0 health,
right?
Like close to 0 health,
right?
And we need him to get him back to full. That's what that's great for. If you need a smaller, faster health boost that you can use more often, like this is like you said, it's more versatile, it's more flexible,
right?
You know, you get 2 uses, I believe, out of the doctor bag before it goes away. So you really got to make those count. It's got to be on people who are really low health and really need it. Whereas you get more to use with the Fugitive, even though
you have to place them all individually. Though,
yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah, that's what I think of that. Now, as far as the rest of the tree, it's kind of based on it's a lot of survivability, a lot of kind of rewarding you for playing a low like a stealth build,
right?
You know, like you've got skills like this. For every 3 points of concealment you are under 35, you're getting bonus critical hit chance,
right?
And a bunch of skills that he has like that all make this kind of like, if you've been focusing on going quiet and you want some kind of offensive incentive to do that, the Fugitive is really good at that.
Which is I love, by the way, because I was always, my biggest problem with playing stealth was like I don't really get to shoot that many people.
Right.
Sounds terrible, but in a game like this, where that's the main draw, it's a little bit of I feel like I'm compromising there. But with the Fugitive, it's interesting because it's almost like kind of a jack of all trades. You have the medkit as your base skill. You have these dodge things. You have straight up stealth incentivizing abilities. Like if you stand still and remain stealth, you'll start like emanating this radio wave and picking up.
I had to get that one.
It's very handy. It is super handy.
Especially being like a person who does like to play stealth, I had to grab that. But we were talking a little bit about stealth before and just how it can be kind of a little bit counterintuitive and limiting in this game as we wait for an ideal mission for me to do. That's the thing. If I'm going solo and those bots aren't going to help me out, I really need to kind of cherry pick what I do. But yeah, with that being said, I do find playing stealth rewarding and interesting in the sense that if you use the right gadgets and you have the right loadout and you have a good plan, and you're working with people who are, who are competent, then it can be very, very thrilling when you have the right gear and you go in and you're like, okay, here's a camera, who's got a silenced pistol to take it out quietly. You pick a lock into the back of the to get into the back of the bank, and you put down an ECM jammer so none of the cameras can report you. One of your buddies at the front of the bank is controlling the entire crowd, taking hostages and making sure everyone stays down and everyone's scared. And there's these tense bouts of 20 seconds where you're like, it looks like it's about to all go south, but you take out the guards just quickly enough and you keep the cameras offline just long enough and stay in the right quadrants to not be seen, and then before you know it, you're like, man, we're into this vault and there's no police coming and we've got like a 5-minute head start. And even if you don't complete the whole mission with successful stealth, it feels so good to like put all those different mechanics together and have that like pay dividends for your team. That's
the way you just
exciting.
described it sounds fantastic.
And it can happen that way.
Right, which is great. The way I've experienced, because we talked about this a little bit before, but it's kind of opaque, especially if you go down the enforcer tree and don't really understand like how, like I've seen stealth people go up and like start shooting, then I'm like, okay, I guess we're going loud, but they have skills that allow them to do that as well as silencers, and I don't. But that sounds fantastic. Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to keep us moving along here,
going.
And we're going to talk about what we are seeing on the screen right now, which is underwhelming graphics, maybe a little bit.
Very underwhelming is a great way to put it. Like, this game was not super impressive looking when it came out on the PC a couple of years ago. It was fine.
Very serviceable. For sure.
Serviceable is a great word to use to describe it. So, this is the PS4 version is roughly equivalent to what the PC version looks like running at max settings, except that the frame rate is locked at 30, which is really disappointing because, I feel like I'm not one of those guys who needs like 190 frames per second on every game.
Fast my eyes can see.
Exactly, right. It's not about that. It's just that, 60 is nice for gameplay purposes.
I completely agree.
It really is.
It's very difficult to go from playing shooters at 60 frames per second. When I was younger, didn't really notice it, but like having been there, it's very difficult to backpedal at that point. It feels as though it's affecting the way I'm able to perform.
Oh, it's definitely directly affecting it, without a doubt. So that's disappointing because the system, this is a system that can, so by comparison, other games that have had to run at 30 frames per second on this system are like The Witcher 3, which is a humongously impressive looking game.
Yes. That's
massive in scale.
Yes.
And is, it's just jaw dropping. And or like Batman Arkham Knight on PS4 looks incredible, in some ways better than the PC version visually in terms of its visual effects, and yet that game is also running at 30 frames per second. So then when those are games that needed to be capped at 30 because they couldn't hope to go any higher, then you start wondering like, well, why did this game I mean, you get in, especially in the outside, in the exterior areas, it looks kind of good, but like then you get into these like super kind of blocky interior areas.
Also, there's not a lot of physics things that happen. A lot of this stuff is just set geometry. It's not like you could shoot the books off that bookcase or the pottery off that table. Sometimes there's things that you can shoot, but even then the physics are kind of underwhelming. So it's not as if, yeah, I completely agree with you. And I'm surprised. That being said, what are your final thoughts of this? Does it feel a little bit porty, or is it I guess what you would want out of a Payday console game?
This is actually, even though I kind of sounded a little bit negative there, and yes, I would have loved it if the game could have looked significantly better. I really would have. But I have to say, I love this game, and because it's been expanded so much by all the content that's been added since launch. It really is a rich multiplayer experience, and it is legitimately much better looking, at least than the previous console versions. I gave it an 8.3 because I think it's a great game, and this is also, I would say, despite its problems, still a better game than the vanilla version of the PC release, which I gave an 8 to. So because this has a lot more content,
it's got a lot of DLC included, which is worth noting, because if you're a PC player like me, I'm a big fan of the Payday series, so I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just buy all the DLC, let me see how much it is. Like $80. I'm like, whoa,
that's a lot of money
to spend.
That is
a lot of I mean, it seems like a lot of content, but on a Steam sale, for sure, I'm sure it'll be like 10 or 15, and at that point, I'll definitely pick it up. In fact, I just missed the Steam Summer Sale, so GG, well played. But yeah, that's totally worth noting that you have all this excellent content in here, and it's exciting to see that you're basically getting. It's weird because this game did release on PS3 and Xbox 360 in a capacity, correct? Payday 2?
Yes, it did. Payday 2 absolutely came out on 360
so
and PS3.
You think maybe you're just getting a next-gen version of it, but there is a lot more development behind it in terms of the amount of content in the game.
Yeah. If you were coming to Payday 2 for the first time now, and you were like, hey, should I get it on PC and just get all the DLC, or should I get it on PS4? Like, yeah, will the PC version look better? Maybe it'll look a little bit better. This is roughly what it looks like on max settings. Will it run smoother? Absolutely, it will. But you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get what you get for $60.
Or wait for a Steam sale.
Exactly.
That is always a possibility.
Yeah, but overall, this is a great version of a great game. Just wish they had done a little bit more visually and to the AI to improve it as much as some of the other elements of the game have been improved.
I mean, it's been an absolute treat to watch this come from Payday 1, which is kind of, I remember initially that was kind of poorly received a little bit, and people were underwhelmed. And I love that it's bounced back and it has an active community even this late after, because they're very good about pumping out content. But it's extremely exciting to see the Crimewave Edition, and I'm very happy to think that you think it's worth people's time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an underrated, and often overlooked multiplayer game that everyone should be playing.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Here's to Payday 3 having great AI.
Can't wait.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is James Duggan, here with Vince Ingenito, and for all things Payday 2 and heists in general and everything Keanu Reeves, keep it right here on IGN.